Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan, guys. Welcome to this video. Right, so we have now reached a good point over here now. So the moment we're doing Ajwaf, let me just write this down. This is Ajwaf, or in English, Ajwaf. Right? So Ajwaf basically is all about what if you get a waw or a ya in one of the three letters. So this is what we are currently going through at the moment. And as you guys know, we have covered lots and lots. Let me just put this to one side. So we've got this, right? We've done this. We've also explained about the Ajwaf wawi. We've explained about Ajwaf yai. We've done past. We've done present. I've even listed to you all the possible Ajwafs in all of the different variations of the verbs, right? So the mazid, what we call the mazid, when you have 4 or 5 letters in there. This is what we're going to be focusing on today's lesson. All right, so all of these things here are things that you basically can try to apply and understand. So anyway, I was trying to see if I've got anything else. Is that it? Okay, yeah. So you got the idea. So now what I want to do is I want to try to do the next thing now. What's the next thing? So the next thing is we're trying to develop this, extend this to the other patterns that we have. So Ajwaf, okay, Ajwaf wawi, done. Right now we want to look at there's actually one more verb which I actually didn't note down, which was, if you remember, I said to you, you got like, actually no, I don't need to do that, because I was thinking if I mentioned to you, because I gave you this last week as well, didn't I? Sala yasiru, Sara yasir, to figure out for yourselves. So, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have really attempted this one, right? But if you did attempt it, then, excellent, right? It's a very good thing. The exercises themselves will actually help you in trying to see whether you've actually understood these topics or not. So, there was another one as well, which was haba yahabu. So, haba yahabu. Right, so haba yahabu, and this was originally ha yiba, yahayiba, right, hayiba yah, hayiba yah yibu, right, haba yahabu. And so you can try different types of verbs. It doesn't really matter. The point is you need to understand these rules. These are the main rules. So what I'm going to do is, these rules, try to have a separate piece of paper, if you can, and write down the rules that you've collected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one piece of paper here, which I'm going to be using just for rules that we've kind of collected. So for instance, like, let's call this the rules. So we've got one rule. We're going to call this the two Sarkins rule. Right, the two Sarkins rule refers to iltiqa sakinin. So when you have, like I told you over here, where was it? Right over here. So you got two Sarkins meeting. Right, so instead of saying yaqwulna, the alif and the lam are two Sarkins. So one of them has to be removed. So this is known as the two Sarkins rule. And then you've got the second rule is the rule of the changing, right? So the change to alif, we're going to call this the change to alif rule. Now later on I'll give you the Arabic terms for these rules, but for now have a rules sheet and then write these down, because when these come, then I'll say to you, okay, on your rules sheet, remember the two Sarkins rule, remember the change to alif rule. So this one's the change to alif rule, this one's the change to alif rule, this one's the two Sarkins rule, right, this one's the change to alif rule, this one's the two Sarkins rule, and so forth. You get the idea, right? So this is what we need to collect as much as possible. We need to right. So I'll keep this to the side. So remember this. Right, this is going to be on the side. So now what I want to do is I want to move on now. So if you remember what I said last time, I said to you that we can actually map out all of the verbs and we can come out with like a whole understanding of how all of this works. So one map is this one and one map is this one. This would be like the more micro map and this is the more macro map, right? So when you're doing Sarf, a good way is to try and understand where does everything fit in. So any word you come across in the Quran or anywhere else, you can actually try to fit it in for yourself. So you see what we've done so far here. We've gone to the smallest sort of like points here. So we can even go further. We can say things like, okay, in the Tala, what rules apply over there? We can say, okay, you've got the two Sarkins rule and you've got the changing rule, changing to Alif rule. Right, that's consistent. And what about over here? The same thing over here. Now we want to go on to this pattern now, right? Now this is a pattern. If you remember, I did briefly mention it in the beginning of this series. In the beginning of this series, I went through the various patterns and what I done was I made a tree for you guys and also I printed out a clock. Yeah, so I printed out a clock and I had a tree and I said to you all the verbs in the Arabic language or most of them can fit under these, right? So you had the ya'lamu and ya'lamu was denoted by number 1. Yeah, and then the yu'allimu, this is number 2. And then you had yu'limu, actually switched them around. So yeah, actually yu'limu number 4. Number 3 is yu'alimu, number 3. And number 5 is tafa'ul, yata'allamu. And then you got yasta'limu, yeah, yasta'limu. And then you've got yanfa'ilu, where's yanfa'ilu? Number 7, yanfa'ilu. And then number 8, ifta'ala, right, yafta'ilu. So ya'talimu. And then you've got number 10, yastaf'ilu. Yes, yata'alamu. What is yata'alamu? Yata'alamu is number 6. And then the last one, yasta'limu. So these are various different types of forms of words. These are known as, like I said to you, they call them mazid. Mazid simply means extension, added, addition. So the mujarrad are the ones which are made up of 3 letters. And then you've got these which are known as the mazids. So the mazids basically are the ones that have extensions added onto them. And I want to go through the ajwaf of these now. Now I didn't really go through these in great detail in the beginning. And the reason being is I just thought, you guys will understand how they work. Once you understood how Yansur Nasara works, you're going to understand how these works because the idea is exactly the same as that, right? So if I go to Yansuru, okay, so one of the first ones that we did this one, Yaktubu, right? So they follow exactly the same pattern, right? So Yaktubu, right? Yaktubu was one of them. Let's do Yaktubu. So if you notice over here, I told you guys, I said to you that you have these additions on there. So when I tell you a pattern, a particular pattern, and say to you, this is the yastaf'ilu pattern or, whatever pattern it is, basically what I'm trying to say is that these are simply just additions. Yeah. This is not a mazid. So bar this one, this is not mazid. All of these are mazid because they have some sort of addition on there. So some of them are made up of 4 letters, some of them are made up of 5 letters and so forth. So I want to show you that today. And then I want to give you some examples of how the 2 rules that we've learned so far apply. So for instance, like let's do past. Yeah, I think instead of present, let's do past. Right, so let's find the example for the past. Now, do you know any teacher that carries with them all of their notes? Right? Well, that's me, that is. So if you look at this now, Yansur, Nasara, yeah? Nasara. So if we were to take any one of these patterns that I told you, right? Let's take any one of these patterns. Okay, so for instance, like, let's take the first pattern, which is the pattern of, if we call this the if'al pattern, right? So it's called if'al. It's called the if'al pattern. So it's going to work in exactly the same way as this, exactly the same way. You are simply going to write down 1, 2, 3, 14, 4, 5, 6, and you can do this as well, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, right? So you got 14 there. Now what you basically do is, when you have the 14, you write down next to it in accordance with this. So this is all 14 as well, right? So remember, the first one is going to have nothing next to it. So let's start off with, for example, like akrama, right? So akrama would be, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the extra letter that has been added in. So the extra letter, I'll do it in red. Okay, just to show you guys. Now all of these akrama are all going to have an extra alif at the beginning. This extra alif is what makes it the four letters. So remember I told you some have 4 letters in there, some have 5 letters in there. Right, so you draw this and then karama, and then karama, and then you add on to the end of it alif. Akrama, akrama, and then so you just put this all the way through, I know it's a bit of a tedious task, but it's just I just want it to be ingrained in your minds so that you understand this thoroughly. And it's just mapped, because all this is about just mapping everything out. Right, now if I use these colors, right, so I'm going to use red, blue and green. So akrama, the next one is going to be akramu, and the next one is going to be akramat. Yep, akramat. And the next one is going to be akramata, and the next one is going to be akramna. Okay, the next one's going to be akramta. Next one's going to be akramtuma. So see, I'm following this ayah. Akramtuma. Just put this light a bit down so you can see it properly. Okay. Akramtuma, akramtum, akramti, akramtuma, akramtunna, and akramtu, akramna. Akramtu, akramna. Okay, so that's basically what, and you're going to have the same structure for all the rest of these. Right, so all of these ones that I showed you on the clock. Right, you're going to have the same structure for all of these. So this is akram, I've done number 4, yeah? But you can do for number 2 as well. You're just going to have fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata, fa'ala. Same thing, fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'ala. That's why I don't want to write all this out, because I know it's not really kind of interesting to watch me just write and write and write. Okay, so I think you got the idea of that. Now when it comes to the ajwaf, right, when it comes to the ajwaf, so let's, for example, let's start off with ajwaf now. So this is just like the normal sort of pattern, right? This is what we call sahih. And now we're going to have ajwaf. So how is the ajwaf one going to work? So the ajwaf one is going to work basically, I think the light is a bit dark, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's a bit dark. It's a bit too dark. Yeah, let me just get my other light onto here. That's better. Okay, that seems to be much more clear now. Right, so so now that we have this done, so now we're going to look at ajwaf now. So we are going to use ajwaf waw and ajwaf ya. Right? Ajwaf waw, ajwaf ya. So ajwaf waw, let's look for an example of ajwaf waw. An example of ajwaf waw would be, for instance, aqama yuqimu. Right? So originally it was aqwama. Aqwama. Okay, so remember it's under this pattern, isn't it? Akrama, aqwama. Okay, and this one, ajwaf ya'i example, would be at-tiyara. So ya and ra. At-tiyara. At-yara. Okay. How does the change take place? So basically what's going to happen in aqwama is you can tell exactly straight away what's going to happen. You got a waw. What was the rule? If you have a waw and you have a sukoon before it, you must change that waw into an alif. Right? So now aqwama is actually going to become aqama. Yeah, aqama. And atyara, you got a ya with a sukoon before it. So this is going to become atara. Atara. See what happens? Right? Once you know the rule, you start to spot these rules over here. And this is going to go on through the rest of it. Entire thing, you're going to have the same thing. Aqwama, aqama, aqama, aqamu, aqamat. Now when you come to this one over here, so this one is where the change really kind of takes place. So you got like aqwama, right? So aqwam na. Aqwam na. Now because the waw has to be changed into an alif, this waw has to be converted to an alif. You can't have this, right? Because you've got two sarkins there. So what's going to happen is going to become aqam na. Aqam na. So you see what's happened? So if someone asks you, explain to me how aqwamna has become aqamna. We say, well, there's two rules I've applied over here. One is that the waw has to be converted into an alif. And because of that, you have two sarkins joining up now. And one has to be removed. The alif is gone. And now you left with aqamna. Yeah. So this applies there. And it also applies to the rest of all of these. All at the end. Aqamta, aqamtuma, aqamtum, aqamti, aqamtuma, aqamtunna, aqamtu, aqamna. And the same thing, the exact same thing is going to happen with this one as well. Right? So you've got atyara, right? So your atyara. When it comes to here, you're going to say, well, the way we're going to do it is at ya na. At yarna. Now obviously change is going to take place. What's the change? The ya has to be converted into an alif because it's preceded with a sukoon. And so you're left with two sarkins and one has to go. So it becomes atarna. 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 Now you see, this is an example that I have done. This is an example that I have done for if'al. Right, if'al. And like I said, you can apply this to loads of examples, especially in the Quran. Lots and lots of examples. I'll try to find some examples for you now. But the point is once you understand how to apply it to this, right, then you can start doing the rest of the clock. Right, so I actually wanted to cover 3 or 4 of these today. But unfortunately, I think time is not going to give us a chance to do any more. But exactly the same thing you can do, and we'll do that. We'll have a list over here. We'll go through, for example, like fa'ala. You write down a whole list going down of just a sahih version of fa'ala. Right, like for example, sarrafa, yusarrifu, anything you like. Go all the way down, and then make yourself 2 columns over here, and say what would the ajwaf wawi one look like, and what would the ajwaf ya'i one look like. Right, how would it be different? And then we can do, like for example, ifti'al. Yeah, let's do ifti'al, that one. And then you do the same thing over here, sahih version, and then you have 2 columns. You do the ajwaf wawi, ajwaf ya'i. One thing you're going to be noticing as you go through it is some of these have no change at all. Right, so in fact, I can tell you now, fa'ala has no change. So there's no of those 2 rules that we've learnt. None of them apply to fa'ala. None of them apply to tafa'ala. None of them apply to fa'ala. And none of them apply to tafa'ala. Yeah, so that's the interesting thing that is. So in other words, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one, this one, this one, and this one, no change that we've learned so far applies to these. Right, no change that we learned so far applies to these. And the rule only applies to this, and this, and that. Yes, that's number 1, 4, 7, 8, and 10. That's it. So as we go through, you're going to see this now, right? So that's why I'm starting off from the scratch and working my way up, and then I give you the rule. Because what happens is you guys are going to start understanding how it all starts off, how it all works. Okay? All right. So anyway, let's have a look in the Quran at this. Let's have a look. See how the Quran... Today I haven't got my light on properly. So it looks a bit weird today. So I do apologize today for the lighting problems. My light actually has started to give me problems. I don't know, since yesterday. I don't know, I might have to try and repair it, or I have to get a new one. So that's that. So I hope you guys understood this. Now we're going to look into the Quran and look at some examples, and then we'll try to write those examples down. Right, so here is the Quran. Let's have a look at some examples. Okay. Okay, so let's go to Surah. So we've got Surah Ibrahim. Ibrahim's the good Surah to go to. Okay, so let's see if you guys can see this. If it's zooming in right. Okay, so وإذا أذن ربكم لئن شكرتم وقال موسى ألم يأتكم نبأ الذين من قبلكم قوم نوح قالت رسلهم أفل. So قالت. Okay, so you got قالت over here, right? So we all know what قالت is made up from. What is قالت made up from? So قالت is made up from قاولت. Waw has transferred into alif because it appears in the middle of a verb, and so that has to be changed into an alif. So okay, so you got قاولت. Yeah, قاولت. So قاولت has occurred. Okay, what else is there? So is there any iltiqa sakinain? Is there any sakins? No sakins rule. Change into an alif. Actually, we've also done another rule, haven't we? Which I haven't written down. That just reminds me. Let me just write down this rule, which is the switching rule. Yeah, remember the switching rule? So yaqulu is actually switched. So you got the yaqulu over there. This yaqulu is actually switched. So you switch, transfer the vowels. Yeah, so I'll write this down. Just before I get confused. So we'll call it the switch vowel. Switch vowel previous. Switch vowel with previous letter. Yep. Switch vowel with previous letter. So we've done 3 rules so far. Right, I'll clear that up now. So yaqulu becomes yaqulu. So the vowel switches. I was thinking we've done more than 2 rules. Anyway, let's go back to this then. So okay, so qalat, all right, you got qalat there. You've also got qalu. So qalu is same thing. Qawalu, same thing has happened over here. Now turiduna, this is an interesting one. We haven't done the present verb, but this is actually ajwaf. Yeah. So inshallah, when we do present one, this one's going to make more sense. قالت, again, same thing. قاولت نحن إلا بشر مثل ولكن الله يمن على من يشاء من عباده وما كان over here originally was كوانا, right? So here the alif has been changed into an alif, right? So change into an alif. And بسلطان إلا بإذن الله وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون وما لنا ألا نتوكل على الله وقد هدانا سبلا ولنصبرن على ما آذيتمونا. Okay, I'm trying to look for a more specific one. لمن خاف مقامي. خاف originally was خاويفة. The waw has a vowel on there, and before a fatha appears, so you got to switch it with an alif, or you got to change it into an alif. خاب يخيب. Yeah, so this خاب يخيب, Khaba yakhibu, khayba, khayaba. Originally was khayaba. Okay, khayaba. Okay, so you got that one over there. Yusiruhu. Now this is present. See, we haven't done present yet, but it's present, and this is asara yusiru. So, yeah, so wow. Yusiru, yuswiru. Originally was yuswiru. And then so change has taken place. The vowel has shifted. Notice, instead of yusyiru, yusiru. Okay. فَإِن تَابُوا, tabu originally was from tawbah, tawabu. So the waw has been transferred into an alif, changed to an alif, right? Because a fatha has appeared before it, in the middle of a word. Aqamu originally was aqwamu. Again, the same thing has happened over here. The waw has been changed into an alif for that reason. All right, so you've got this over here. Istaqamu. Now, istaqamu, interestingly, is actually from istif'al pattern, right? So it's the same thing. Istaqwamu. Originally it was istaqwamu. So notice alif over here. This alif originally was a waw. Istaqwamu. Right? So that was changed into an alif. But before it was changed into an alif, the vowel it was changed to an alif, and that's it. So istaqwamu, right? So that's basically what's happened over there. So it's become istaqamu. So when we talk about istif'al, I'll talk more about this over there, inshallah. Anyway, let's go back to this then. So like I said, the point of this is trying to map out in your head how all of this fits in, and examples are the most important thing to try and work with. So take some examples of the ones that we've done so far. So for example, like which ones I've done so far? Nama, and try to put it into there. Anama, anamu, anamu, anamat, anamata, anamna. Right, so you're going to be applying those over there as well, and try to go through it verbally and memorize it as well. That's probably one of the best things. Ataba, ataba, atabu, ata. Use tawbah. Aqala, aqala, aqalu, aqalat. Amata, amata, amatu, amatat. And that way, it's going to stick in your head, inshallah. Alright guys, so jazakumullah khair. I hope you guys have benefit from this lesson. So what did we learn in today's lesson? Today's lesson we learnt about the application of the ajwaf to the extended, what we call the mazid vowels, right? The mazid vowels. And the mazid vowels are quite many. Inshallah, we're going to try to go through all this list, right? Hopefully next lesson and maybe the lesson after, we'll finish all of them. And we're trying to apply these rules that we've learned basically. Right, so 2 Sarkins rule, change to an alif rule, and switch vowels to the previous one. So jazakallah khair. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And let me know what you guys think of these videos. Special thank you to all my patrons who make it possible for me to be able to produce videos like this, alhamdulillah. If you guys want to become patrons, if you guys want to support this channel as well and help me make more videos, then please check out the description below. Really means a lot to me. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair, guys, for all of your support. Without your support, I wouldn't have been able to produce the videos that I've put up on my YouTube channel. And there is so much more that I really want to do. And without the support of you guys who are patrons, generously supporting this channel, I've been able to get myself a camera, which as you guys can see, the quality of this camera, a mic system, software, I've been able to hire an editor. So what do I want to do? I want to make lots and lots and lots of more videos for beginners, for intermediate, advanced, in the subjects like Arabic and fiqh and hadith and tafsir and aqidah and all those other things as well. And for this to happen, again, this channel needs support. So if you guys want to become patrons and support this channel, then check out the link below. Also, if you do become patrons, you'll have access to videos that I don't put up on my normal YouTube channel. So check that out, inshallah. And there's most other perks as well that you guys can benefit from. And if you want to access this channel through social media, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, Facebook page, and other things as well that you can visit. So jazakumullah khair again, guys. Thank you very much for your support. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khair for watching this video. I hope to see all of you guys. If you guys are interested, please leave us feedback, get in contact with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.